If I knew then what I know now, everything would be different. If I could talk to my younger self, I'd tell her this. And if you're an artist who's stuck, let me save you the wasted time. There are artists out there right now waiting for the perfect moment to start, waiting to feel ready, waiting for someone to tell them their work is good enough. I know because I was one of that artists. But your talent isn't the problem. Your timing isn't the problem. And that voice telling you to wait, it's costing you more than you realize. So today, I'm going to give you 10 truths I wish someone had given me. The kind of truth that would have saved me years of playing small and hiding behind someday. You don't have as much time as you think. Every single day you're not creating, not sharing, not building, that's time you'll never get back. You might think that you have time to figure it out later or wait until everything feels perfect. That's what I thought too. But those dreams you keep putting off have an expiration date. Not because you can't achieve them later, but because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to break free from the comfort of not working on your dreams. Time is the one thing you can't get back. And every time you push your art aside, it becomes harder to reconnect with that spark, the excitement you feel when you think about creating. Your dreams don't disappear. They just get tucked beneath life's demands, bills, responsibilities, and those I'll do it laters pile up. And that brings me to something even more important. One day, you'll wish you started today. Imagine an older version of yourself looking back at this moment. And I want you to ask yourself, what's that version of you thinking? Are they thanking you for finally taking that first step? Or are they adding this moment to the growing pile of what ifs and if onlys? I remember it so clearly, sitting in my day job, scrolling through Instagram, watching other artists live the life I dreamed of. And I knew I wasn't meant for the 9-to-5 world, and my spirit was jumping out of my body, but I felt paralyzed because I didn't know how to make it happen. But here's what I finally realized. The difference between them and me wasn't talent, luck, or even opportunity. The difference was that they started. They started even when they looked cringy. They started scared. They started even though they didn't know what was going to happen. Here's what I know now at 39 that I wish I'd known sooner. The fear you're feeling isn't going anywhere. But you know what else isn't going anywhere? Your dreams. Unless you keep letting that fear win. Every successful artist you admire started before they were ready. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They just started. They stopped waiting for permission to begin. And you can make that same choice too. But I know what's holding you back right now because it held me back too. Waiting for permission or validation, that will hold your dreams back faster than any rejection ever could. I lived this illusion for years, waiting for someone, anyone, to tell me it was okay to pursue my dreams, to take my creativity seriously, to believe in myself and my art. And you know what I realized? The people whose permission you're waiting for, most of them don't even have permission to live their own dreams. Think about that. You might be seeking validation from people who haven't even validated themselves. And your path is yours to walk, not your family's to approve, not your friends to understand, not society's to validate. But if you keep waiting for someone else to tell you it's time, you're rejecting yourself before anyone else even has the chance. And let me tell you something. Those same people who dismissed you, said you were crazy, told you to get a real job, they'll be the first ones asking, how did you do it, once you figure it out? But by then, you'll understand that their approval was never what you needed. What you needed was something far more valuable than validation. Talent may get you started, but discipline is what gets you to the finish line. I've seen talented artists fade into obscurity while those with half their natural ability built thriving careers. Why? Because talent without discipline is like owning a pink Ferrari with no gas. Every hour you spend doubting yourself is an hour you could have spent improving. Every day you spend thinking about creating instead of creating is a day you'll never get back. Talent can give you a head start, but discipline will outrun talent every single time. Discipline is what pushes you through the self-doubt, through the fear of failure, through the days you don't feel like showing up. It's the key to making progress, no matter how small, every single day. But there's something even sneakier than lacking discipline. Waiting for everything to be perfect will only keep you stuck. This one is personal because it kept me stuck for a very long time. Let me tell you what perfect really means. It means never finishing, never sharing, never growing. There's a lot of talented people sitting on gold mines of creativity, but they won't share it because it's not ready yet. Ready for what? Ready for whom? That genius idea in your head will stay there forever unless you start creating imperfect work first. Perfection is a lie that keeps you stuck. It's not your friend, and it's certainly not your standard. Those flaws you're trying to hide, those rough edges you keep trying to smooth out, that's where people see themselves in your work. Your perfection might impress them, but your vulnerability will move them. And the irony, while you're waiting for your work to be perfect enough to share, nobody's coming to discover you in hiding. So you're waiting to be discovered, waiting for someone to recognize your genius. Stop waiting. The world is too busy, too noisy, and too distracted to notice you unless you make them notice. Your art deserves to be seen, but you have to show up first. You have to be bold, unapologetic, and own every part of who you are. Every day you spend hiding is a day someone else is out there showing up, building their audience, making connections, not because they're better than you, but because they decided to be seen. They decided their work deserved to exist in the world, even if it wasn't perfect. But there's something even more insidious than hiding. Your comfort zone isn't a safe haven. It's a trap. That cozy little bubble you've created, the one where you make art when you feel like it and never really put yourself out there. Every great artist you admire had to get uncomfortable. They had to do things that scared them. They had to face rejection, criticism, and failure. The only way to improve is to push yourself into discomfort. You have to be willing to make mistakes so that you can learn from them. I had to learn this the hard way. Growth and comfort can't coexist. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you're choosing to stay exactly where you are. And in art, if you're not evolving, you're staying stagnant. And you know what's worse than feeling uncomfortable? Looking back at your life and realizing you never gave yourself a real chance. That you let fear disguised as comfort rob you of your potential. That's the kind of regret that keeps you up at 3 a.m. And speaking of challenges, social media isn't the enemy. It's about finding your way to use it. The algorithm will always feel like it's working against you. The rules will change, the trends will evolve, but that doesn't mean you can't learn how to make it work for you. I used to let every low engagement feel like rejection. Every successful artist post was just another reason to compare myself. I was trying to play a game I didn't even understand. But when I stopped chasing followers and focused on building genuine connection, that's when things started to click. Now, I barely post on Instagram, but I'm very active in my DMs. I'm having real conversations with people who resonate with my work and making connections that actually matter. The difference is that I'm not just using social media, I'm leveraging it in a way that works for me. Sometimes that means changing your approach, sometimes it means pivoting entirely, but it always means staying true to what feels authentic to you. What really holds artists back online is trying to play someone else's game instead of creating your own. And if you're going to create your own game, you have to set your own worth, which brings us to a truth that many artists struggle with. If you don't charge what you're worth, no one else will. This one might make you uncomfortable, but we need to talk about money, about value, and about worth. I see so many artists afraid to ask for what they're worth, giving away their talent for exposure, for practice, for someday. Let me tell you where that road leads. it leads straight to burnout and resentment. You can't avoid this forever. At some point, you need to change how you see money. Every time you undercharge or work for free, you're not just devaluing yourself, you're making it harder for every other artist to charge what they're worth. Your fear of charging professional prices isn't just holding you back, it's also preventing you from stepping into your full potential as an artist and from realizing the true value you're capable of offering. But here's the hardest truth of all. The longer you wait to take yourself seriously, the more it will hurt. This is it. This is the one that finally pushed me to change, because here's what happens when you don't take yourself seriously. You start drifting through life like you're watching it happen instead of making it happen. I wasted so much time thinking I wasn't ready, but the truth is that that moment will never arrive on its own. You have to choose it, create it, and claim it for yourself. Listen, the world will never take you more seriously than you take yourself. Your art will never be more valuable to others than it is to you. And that dream you keep putting off, it's not getting any easier to achieve while you wait. Want to know the real reason this hurts so much? Because deep down, you already know all of this. You've known it for years. That frustration is your potential trying to get your attention. So here's the gift I wish someone had given me years ago. You don't need permission. You don't need to be ready. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Because in the end, 10 years from now, you'll either have the life you created or the excuses you settled for. The choice is yours, but the time is now. Whether you're just starting out or you've been creating for years, what we're doing here is bigger than making beautiful things. It's bigger than sales or social media. It's about you bringing something into the world only you can create. Every time you choose to show up and create despite the fear, that's an act of courage. And somewhere out there, someone needs to see exactly what you're afraid to share. I know this isn't easy. The doubt, the fear, the uncertainty, they don't just disappear. But it's harder and more painful looking back and wondering, what if? Realizing you gave fear the power to keep your gifts hidden. When you finally show up for your art, the world doesn't just see you, it also sees what you came here to do. And that's how the right people will find you. For those of you who want to take action on what we've talked about, I've put together some guidebooks about building your art business and finding your authentic voice. And if you're looking for more support, I also work one-on-one with artists. All the details are in the description below. And if fear is something you're really struggling with, I recommend reading the Litany Against Fear every morning. I keep it in my bathroom and read it after I pray, because fear held me back for a long time, and in some ways it still does, but it doesn't have the same hold on me as it used to. At some point, you have to stop letting fear determine how big you allow yourself to dream. Trust yourself enough to begin.